If you want to grow your practice, you probably have huge marketing questions. How do you get clients as the Yellow Pages fades into oblivion?
Has Yellow Pages been a regular part of how you've advertised and you spend some money there?
We did, and we don't. If you look around my office, you won't find a phone book. I don't use one. I don't have to use one. I have this thing here. So if I want to get in touch with a doctor, why would I go pick up a heavy book and flick through and find the doctors when I can find the guy's phone number right there? So I believe that the phone books are going the way of the 8-track. I just don't think that's modern day advertising.
Let's say that you have a potential 500 clients a year, all right? If 4 of them or 6 of them don't hire you because they went into the advertising, the Yellow Pages and didn't find you, are you willing to live with that for $80,000? And since our cost of acquisition of clients is around $1,500 per client, yes is the answer. In other words, if we can take the savings of $74,000 and use it for TV or internet and even pay-per-click, which is kind of a waste, but not as much of a waste as Yellow, then we've made a wise decision.
How do really successful attorneys compete when there are attorneys in your town spending millions on marketing? That's a big question. And we have some attorneys you'll meet in the next few minutes who will offer some really good answers to that. Another question? Can PPC, that's pay-per-click, work to drive new cases? In the next few minutes, we'll give you answers to these questions and more. I'm Jim Doyle. The 10 consultants in our company, Jim Doyle & Associates, will meet this year with over 4,000 businesses and hundreds of attorneys who are trying to grow their practice. You might call us thieves, because we get to steal ideas from some very smart marketers. You'll meet a few of them in this presentation. And most of those attorneys are increasingly realizing that the Yellow Pages are quickly going away.
We took those monies and we put them into other media, and every year we've had a growth in the number of cases that come in. You can just chart it straight up. We've never had a year where it went down. So it didn't have any impact at all.
I think Yellow Pages is a lot like 8-track tape players. You know, if I pulled a box of those out and showed them to Max and my nephews, they'd say, you know, what are those? And I would have to explain to them what they are. They are dinosaurs. I think the Yellow Pages is an obscene joke, a waste of money, and I'll tell you why, on multiple reasons. The first and foremost is that I question whether or not the Yellow Pages actually gets in someone's home.
Print media is going by the wayside. I think one of the biggest impacts I had was a younger attorney in our office indicated that he was offended by getting the phone books.
I just informed the Yellow Pages last week that they said, we're going to come in, we're going to renew your ad. I said, don't come in, we're not doing anything. Well, your name's not going to be in the Yellow Pages. That's okay. I don't need to be in the Yellow Pages. I do not need to be in the Yellow Pages.
The big issue with the Yellow Pages is the impact of technology. I mean, after all, who uses the Yellow Pages in the Google era? Your smartphone has hurt the Yellow Pages, too. Instead of looking up the number for my pizza shop every time I want a pizza, now it's in my phone. So is my pharmacy, my dry cleaner. And, of course, the Yellow Pages have become highly, highly negotiable. As businesses leave, they're struggling to try and stay relevant. Buffalo attorney Steve Boyd feels strongly that the Yellow Pages doesn't drive any of his business.
Give the money to charity. You'll get a deduction. You'll get, you know what? You give the money to charity, and somebody from that charity will get hurt, and they'll want to call you because you gave that money to the charity. That's better marketing than being the Yellow Pages. In my mind, the Yellow Pages are dead. It's the 8-track.
So what do you do in this new era? Well, some of you might think the natural answer would be Google pay-per-click. I mean, after all, people are leaving Yellow Pages because they're going to Google. They're looking up phone numbers on Google. But there's a big issue with pay-per-click.
I have bought Google AdWords, and they have never worked for us. I have done high-cost search engine optimization, and it's never worked for us.
Now, I tried the pay-per-click, and I found it to be a waste of money, an utter waste of money. I felt that the only way to grow it is to grow it organically, to make it such that people want to get on your website.
It's outrageously expensive to get results with pay-per-click. As some of you know, the cost that people pay for keywords on Google has gotten more and more expensive all the time. Here's Bill Hardy, a lawyer in Portland, Maine, as he talks about his experience.
Because we don't do a lot of PPC. I'll tell you why. 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, you take a commonly searched term like Maine accident lawyer. These are guesses, but they're from memory. Let's say that term 3 years ago on Google PPC was $2 a click, right? It's now $40 a click. So, as you know, you need X number of clicks in order to get Y numbers of actual clients, and Y is a heck of a lot smaller than X. So, let's say 30 clicks or 40 clicks. You know, you're talking about $1,600 just to have that person click through and come to you. Then you lose all the advantages that the internet was giving you over television in terms of cost of acquisition of clients. And so it becomes cost ineffective to do PPC.
As Bill describes, it's hard to make money when you're paying that much for every lead. In fact, it's almost impossible. Your costs of acquisition go from $1,400 or $1,500 a case to maybe $9,000 or $10,000 or even more. You see, Google's an auction, and the more people that want a term, the higher you'll pay. And at $40 a click, those numbers just don't work. In fact, if you look at this chart, attorneys are the 4th most expensive term for Google. You just can't make pay-per-click work. As an old immigrant merchant used to say to me, lose money on every sale and make up for it with volume. But you see, they will find you online if, and this is huge, they know your name before they go to Google. It's called organic search. Bill Hardy told me with his firm, 60 to 70% of the people who go to Google don't go for who do I call for a lawyer. They type in Hardy, Wolf & Downing, the name of his firm. So you have to have a brand before your prospect goes to Google or you're dead.
But they didn't come see us because they saw us on the internet. They came see us because they saw us on television, and that sent them to the internet for info, and then they called us.
How do you do that? And especially, how do you build that brand if you have mega competitors in your market? Well, there are 2 answers. The first is to understand the unbelievably powerful line that there are riches in niches. One of the basic tenets of marketing is that you can't be all things to all people unless you're Walmart, a dominant market leader. You know, the people that you compete with who started advertising 20 years ago, they may potentially be able to be everything to everybody. But once that file in the customer's brain is full, you can't win. You've got to find a niche. That's why one of attorney Steve Boyd's Buffalo, New York niches are We Sue Drunk Driving. Bob Dietrich, a bankruptcy lawyer in Lansing, says Bob saves home. And here in Tampa Bay, Fran Hash calls herself the motorcycle accident lawyer and aggressively markets to people who ride motorcycles. And Pete Drummond handles Social Security disability cases. Let's watch some commercials that can give you just a few examples of attorneys marketing to niches.
If you've been denied your Social Security disability benefits, don't give up. I'm attorney Merrill Jones, and I can give you a second chance.
Do you work in the healthcare industry? If you do, you run a real risk of injuring your back, sustaining a fall, or other injury.
For 30 years, I've represented birth injury victims. Sadly, many people have called me after the 1-year statute of limitations. Don't wait. Call me today. And you know what I do. I'll make them pay.
You'll make them pay. Facing foreclosure? You have options. We're saving Michigan homes one family at a time.
Bob Saves Homes.
If you drive drunk, we will hold you accountable.
We don't represent drunk drivers. We sue them.
Chris O'Brien, Steve Boyd, attorneys at law, Buffalo. We sue drunk drivers.
What won't work? Trying to be all things to all people. Because today, when you try to be all things to all people in marketing, you run the very real risk of becoming nothing to everyone. The person who is showing you this presentation can share lots and lots of other niche ideas, different ones that work in different markets. The word is focus. finding a point of attack that differentiates yourself from your competitor. But focus also applies to your media. You have competitors who are likely spending millions in your market. So how can you have impact? Focus your money in just a few places. Be dominant with fewer people. Here's the #1 marketing question you might ask yourself. Would you rather be #1 with a few people or number 12 with everyone? Well, if you're smart, you'll answer, better to be a bigger deal with fewer people than to be invisible with everyone else. And then, how do you really have impact? Well, there's nothing more powerful than a television ad. Want proof? Talk to the politicians. They have only one chance each year to win. You can't mark it down and have a sale if the campaign doesn't perform. They have one chance. And where do they spend 80% of their money? On TV.
It's remarkable, really, Jim. I mean, you know, it really is. I mean, you wouldn't think it would be, but it really is a quick response type of advertising. It doesn't make sense when you think about it, because people would come see us. Let's say we start advertising on June 15th. Well, somebody got injured in February. They'd come see us on June 16th if they saw us and they thought of it and they said, well, maybe this is a good idea. If we persuaded them, in other words, they might come see us the next day. And it's almost instantaneous.
Yes, I was looking for a way to expand my market. I realized that Yellow Pages were just sinking fast, almost to the point of non-existence, in large part, I think, because of the Internet.
I've told people that who have contemplated getting on television. There's a doctor friend of mine who does therapy. He has various therapy sessions. He has various therapy centers around northeastern Ohio. And I said, Doc, you got to get on television. And he says, oh, boy, I don't know. I said, let me tell you something. If you get on television, I'm going to guarantee you something. I want you to write on a piece of paper what you think your annual sales will be 2 years from now. Okay? You get on television, and I will guarantee you 2 years from now, maybe a year and a half, maybe even a year, that number, the real number, will be exponentially higher than what you thought possible.
So how do you compete in this new environment? You can't use pay-per-click. The Yellow Pages are going away. The answer is focus. Focus your point of attack. Don't try to be the number 5 or number 10 personal injury lawyer in your market. Be the first motorcycle accident lawyer or the first to sue drunk drivers. Focus your advertising. It seems like a contradiction, but in advertising, less is more. Focus magnifies results because you become a huge deal even if it's to a few less people. And finally, unleash the unbelievable power of television.
Well, what I would tell somebody is, come up with 5,000, come up with 10,000, come up with 25,000, whatever, 50,000, whatever the number happens to be. When you have that, we're going to get you on television, and instantaneously, your business will take a jolt. Guaranteed it will.
In terms of the whole, you know, what drives people to our business, I'd say it's probably, 30 or 40%, because a lot of it is just satisfied clients. But it's the 600-pound gorilla of our advertising budget, that's for sure.
We've kept pretty good track of phone calls and intakes, and I would say that our move in advertising has resulted in doubling the amount of contacts or cases that we're taking, actually.
When someone sees a lawyer's ad on television, they think two things. He has to be a good lawyer, and he has to be successful. He could be the biggest schmuck in the world, okay? But if someone sees his ad, they're thinking, wow, this guy is something. Now, instantaneously, the next day he walks into courtroom, judge says, wow, you must have settled some big cases. Are you too important to meet with us, Mr. Weinberg? Instantaneously, he has transformed his image forever in that community.